Hello everybody, and welcome to the last video of the year, if this gets done on time, that is. It's already a little late though, because my DeviantArt anniversary was on the 22nd, and is much past the 22nd. But that's okay, that's why we're doing this now. What I'm doing today is just, I'm drawing, or more like I'm redesigning every single version of my original fan character I made when I was like 12. And I still draw her and still actually have been coming up with ideas for her recently. And so I thought it'd be really cool to do this just as like one last cool video to celebrate me being online for 7 consecutive years now, which is really cool. It really is. Like, you don't really think about it too much when you first just start doing stuff, because you're like 12 and you want to make fan characters because that's cool, I guess. I don't even remember the thought process behind it. I just remember making fan characters and finding Sonic over in Switzerland when I went over there for like, the summer of 6th grade. My mom and I took a vacation out there and we stayed with her at the time boyfriend. It was an interesting situation and we were out there for a whole month and it was really cool. And definitely just really impactful on my life. It exposed me to so much culture and, well, I mean, exposed me to Sonic for whatever weird reason, reintroduced me to Sonic at 12 after I'd like forgotten what it was, because I was a big Sonic fan when I was little. My dad and I used to play the games a lot, but I don't know, I just kind of got into other things as I got a little older, and eventually Europe brought me back into Sonic somehow. I don't know, I think it was just fate. I had turned off my AC. It was kind of annoying, I'm sorry. So this is the first design that I made for her. I honestly can't remember even where I was or what I was doing. But I feel like I should mention actually my very first Sonic fan character, because Ariana was not the first. She was just who I stuck with after I made a conglomerate mess of characters and then just kind of eliminated all but like a handful of them. My first fan character was named Vita, and she was just a generic Amy blue cat recolor with some color in her hair. And I did this really weird thing, like even for 2012 standards, where I just like made Sonic OCs around One Direction. I was 12 and in a really weird transitional period. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. It's just like I think I just thought, oh yeah, purple cat, cool. Let's give her some black. Let's make her kind of edgy and just like have her date Shadow or some shit. And that was it. She wasn't even my main character. She was just kind of like there to be, just to kind of like, you know, be the brutish side of me. Which is weird to say that now, because I'm a pretty docile person, but when I was younger, I had no chill. So this version of Ariana was when she actually became my main Sonic OC, because I just got tired of Vita, I guess, because I was going through one of those like dark phases, and I was like, I need a darker character to reflect myself. I was 13. So I just took this character I already had that was originally a rival to Ariana, and in a hilarious, twist of fates, I later on brought Vita back and turned her into a rival for Ariana. It's kind of like, actually, in Sonic originally, I heard somewhere that Eggman was like gonna be the good guy in one version. He was like a Santa Claus or something. I don't know how true that is, actually. I should look that up. But this Ariana was a good guy? Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty certain she only hung out with the good guys. I think she just had the edgy thing about her, because lol, I guess. There was one point where I, for some reason, was really into Sonic Underground, and I think it's just because I grew up with rock and roll in my family, and I just thought that was really cool when I was 12, 13. But yeah, there was at one point where she was dating Manic, and then Shadow was nowhere to be, and then eventually it was like, nah, it's kind of lame. I went back to the other story, which I didn't even mention the backstory of this character either. The first one, that is. There are many. Oh boy, are there many. So this Ariana is actually, instead of just being like a brute with no backstory, is... Okay, hear me out. The manifestation of Nephilis and Blaze, because their souls got lost. I'm reading this off of really old notes I still have on my computer. Their souls were lost, and then when the universe reformed, they fused together into this... You know, honestly, could have been worse. I've seen much worse stories, but that's kind of what the first one was. And then she is a princess, no matter what setting or what characters were around. After that, she is a princess, because lol, magical edgy princess girl, cat girl, yeah, firepower. I know I haven't really been talking about the design process all that much, but really I didn't change too much about the first two designs. The most drastic changes are probably on the second one that you're seeing right now, and I just kind of changed the rings of her gloves and her gloves a little bit, and then I changed her from like a spike collar to a little like turtleneck scarf thing, just because I didn't want to draw too many like spike collars. Even though I think the first one was really the only one I did draw, so I did a good job. And with that, we're moving on to the next one. And now this Ariana, pretty much, she carried the same backstory, but somewhere in between, I don't know. I think it was just an entire summer that I'd spent on my Windows XP computer that didn't have any internet access for a really weird reason. Let's not get into it. It was a computer that belonged to somebody before me, so it was just kind of weird. It had literally no way of getting onto the internet without a recovery disk, and we couldn't find a Windows XP recovery disk in like 2013, so I was kind of just stuck with no internet for a little while there, and because of that, a lot of this version of Ariana is kind of lost to me, honestly. I think she was still like the fire princess Sonic Underground cat for a little bit with this design, but then like I changed that at some point, and she was involved with the Archie comics, and then at some point I molded everything together because I thought that would be cool. And I mean, I think I kind of made it work, but at the same time it was sort of a conglomerate mess, to be honest. There's just so many characters you gotta keep it, you know, keep in mind, and on top of that, you had your own characters that had to interact with those characters, and then characters from other series that had never met certain other official characters before, and then suddenly your brain explodes in trying to figure everything out. Long story short, though, this Ariana was the one that pretty much transitioned into like the freedom fighters and the comics and whatnot. Just because I was really into the comics at the time, and they had a really solid world that I could already build off of, so that's sort of what I did. And with this design here, I took the original because I think what I was going for, the original like little shirt, was that it just had like an interesting little button pattern on it, but like it doesn't really look like that. So I made it to where you can definitely tell those are buttons, and I didn't really, you know, change around the skirt. I thought the skirt looked really cute. Just about every version of this character before, like, recently, though, was wearing some sort of, like, mini skirt. And I guess that's just because I really wanted mini skirts when I was 13. I was at that age. I changed half of the shirt to gray, though, and the other half to blue, just because I think in the original design, like, there's some colors on there I just don't think I took full advantage of, really. And especially the shoes were weird. In some parts, sometimes they were just like full on like Amy stripe the whole way down. And people who know about making Sonic characters probably understand what I'm talking about. But in other parts it has like that purple end, and I don't know why I did that sometimes, and other times I forgot it was there. But I guess that's not really the first, well, no, that is the first time, but certainly wasn't the last time, Mr. Reappearing, Disappearing Beard. I'm also trying to keep the colors kind of the same for the original designs, at least. After I get more into the other stranger ones and the newer ones, I'm going to get a little bit more interesting with my color choices and definitely design choices. This one was the first one I really decided to break out from the original and have a little bit of fun with. Alright, and now our next Ariana. Oh boy, is this a crazy story. At some point, I ran into somebody else who had a fairly similar character to mine, and I thought I'd just point it out. I thought it was really cute. But I'm not naming anyone or any characters, by the way, because this happened, like, I think over 5 years ago at this point. So we're all kind of past the situation, and I mean, as you can see, I've redesigned this character multiple times after this, so it's not even like a problem anymore. But this person, long story short, got really upset that my character and their character were the same color by coincidence and demanded I change my character's design. Which I did, but like in the most petty, like not redesign way possible, where the only thing I did was just like slightly change her color and then add those two. But the main issue wasn't her outfit, it was just the colors that I used on her. But like I said, it's all water under the bridge, and we've apologized to each other for things that we said and blah 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 blah. It's all water under the bridge now, and I can draw this character as much as I want. It's just always an interesting reason for your main OC's redesign is because, you know, someone said that you can't use that color of purple. But nonetheless, this redesign I thought I'd change up a little bit more because this is the one that I actually used the most, because that whole situation sort of put her in the spotlight afterwards, so I kept that design for quite a while, and it's the one I actually will think about the most. Like, whenever I think of this character, it's this design that comes to my head. So I thought I'd just change it up a bit, since a lot of people already know this version of Ariana. And I changed her gloves to where they had that like sleeve thing, but I just gave them like one big stripe like down the glove instead of just there be nothing there. I thought I'd add some more color and make it match like her whole outfit. I gave her jacket a really cute little zipper and changed her skirt to a pair of shorts because I was like, there's too many mini skirts on these purple fucking cats. I do remember this Ariana was still like doing Archie comic stuff. Like, this is when like my fan fiction came into full force as well. And I used to write really terrible fan fictions. Just like remembering the long nights I'd spend typing the entire story. I would just sit there and type it up into the GIMP editor, and I'd read it over a couple of times. And oh man, when you used, I don't know if this is still a thing because I haven't tried to submit a story this way to DeviantArt in a long time, but I remember if you went to the submission area and you went to go like put in like literature, you had to type it into like this menu, and they made specifically for it. But I can't remember if it was just like if it did it for whatever reason or if it was because you spent too much time away from it. But if I were to like leave and go like, I don't know, like change a video or like go check something else on my computer, it would all just be gone. It's gone. Alright, now this Ariana is a little interesting. So at some point I got sick of doing just Sonic stuff and I wanted to do more original work, and so what I did is I split this character in half. I took the Sonic side and I turned her, completely transformed her story into something else, and then I took the everything else, I guess, and turned it into like its own story. Which I'll get more into that in a little bit, but this Ariana is supposed to be Blaze's cousin in her dimension. Pretty much just kind of acts as the Sonic in the world, and Blaze is supposed to be like the Knuckles of that world, but they're cousins, and they have this weird like rival friend relationship with each other. And she's more like, Ariana's more spunky. She actually travels the world that they live in, which is why you don't see her that often, because she's always out adventuring and trying to, you know, stop Nega Eggman anywhere else other than where their home is, which I'm totally brain farting on. I think there has to be a name for the island. I feel so bad now. I can't remember. I definitely knew at one point in time. Apparently, it's just called Southern Island. You know, shame on me for thinking they actually came up with a name. I didn't really develop this Ariana story too much beyond that point though, because I was more focused on the furry half pretty much. I was more into, you know, making my own original story at this point. But honestly, like, if I ever did go back to this character, I wouldn't mind like looking more into this version of her, because it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of cute to imagine like she just has like this cousin friend that acts as her rival. You know, it's her Sonic to Knuckles or whatever, you know what I mean. But I feel like it's also been done before with fan characters and fan fiction, and I probably stole the idea from somewhere else. Unfortunately, that's how, I was like 15 at this point. Yeah, I had to have been. For her design though, I took the original and I kind of made her a little bit more surfer goth. Like, I know the baggy pants don't really say surfer goth all that much, but I thought they'd also be just a nice change from all the mini skirts and shorts we're gonna be seeing. And it does kind of go with the whole like theme of Blaze. For some people like to draw Blaze with like really baggy pants, and I think that's because they like giving her a little Arabian theme to her. So I don't think the baggy pants are too out of place, and I just kind of gave her more of like a surfer goth top. I also changed around her colors just a little bit. I made them kind of brighter, that way you can tell that she's a little bit more related to Blaze. And I really like the blue and the purple that I used here. I just kind of like bright colors like that aren't really conventionally bright, but they still stick out. I think they're really nice, and I like how this one turned out. Right, and then this last Ariana is the most recent one that I've come up with a story for, which was actually, I think 2 years ago during the hurricanes. This Ariana is kind of based on the very original one where the soul essence of Mephiles and Blaze got stuck together. I still think that was kind of an interesting idea, and I definitely want to like try to flesh it out in a more less weird way. I don't know, I just think it would be really interesting to kind of be like, what happened after, you know, Sonic 06. Know a lot of people don't like Sonic 06. I don't. Full disclosure. But I believe it had a lot of potential, and if, you know, I think if someone went back and rewrote the story, it would probably, it wouldn't, you know, wouldn't be in the place really well written story here. I don't know, it'd be decent at least, it'd be entertaining. But I digress. This would pretty much, what this story would be, would take place after Sonic 06, and we just follow this character around. I imagine that she probably has something to do with Shadow too. He'd probably feel inclined to help her because she also can't remember her past or where she came from because she just kind of existed one day. I did change around her design actually from the original I drew a couple of years back, but I thought, you know, it was time just to move around some colors. I like the pastels mixed with darker shades. They look really nice and they pop out real well. And it's different from all the other designs I'd done in the past that had just been like dark colors over dark colors with like some sort of neon over here. This looks a lot more like it could actually be an official Sonic character, and that's how I actually really like to design my characters now for like TV. Like if I make an OC, I want to make it look as close to the show as possible, just to stay as close to the source material as possible. So I do like this could almost be an official character. She doesn't have fire powers anymore, by the way. This is the first version of her where I have decided not to give her any fire powers. Instead, she uses pretty much dark matter, and it manifests from her spike bracelets, and she can make spikes appear, and that's how she fights. And I think I also wrote somewhere that she can use it to levitate with too, like make a little like platform and fly around on. Alright, now this is what I was talking about earlier. This is the other Ariana from when I split them in half and had like the furry half and the Sonic half, so I could still make Sonic stuff and then do my own thing with my own story. Now, every time I go back and I look at the first furry Ariana, it makes me cringe. I don't know what it is, but I just don't like the face, the muzzle. There's something wrong. There's just something wrong, and I really can't put my finger on it, but it's a little too uncanny, and I made it. And while I was drawing this one, I actually almost decided to keep the purple face, but I then opted for a light purple muzzle, so it's still kind of like the original, but not really, and it kind of looks a lot better than what I was expecting. So I think it worked out pretty well in the end. And I also gave her some little baggy sleeves. I kept her little peppy mini skirt because I honestly didn't have any ideas for this one. But then I took away her giant boots and just kind of gave her little sneakers or short boots. They could be either or in my art style, to be honest. No, they're more like sneakers because they don't really go too far past her ankles. But this Ariana story sort of evolved into some kind of weirdness. I don't even know where the idea like really came from. Pretty much there is two souls inside of Ariana, and one of them is a phoenix named Fariona, or Fifi as I called her. And some people might actually remember Fifi. She was actually I had rewrote Ariana's story for the whole Freedom Fighter thing at some point and added in Fariana. That really was at the very end of that character's use as a full-on Sonic fan character. I'm pretty sure as soon as I had that kind of idea, I was like, that's a little too much for Sonic fanfic. I might need to branch out here soon. Well, that's exactly what I did though, and I just sort of made it its own thing. In this universe, you can have two souls. One soul has to be the soul of like an extinct animal though, or like a legendary one. That's why Fariona is a phoenix. And then there's also like a Peridon, and I remember a dragon. Or no, it was actually a rabbit-dragon hybrid. I called it Dragbit because I didn't want to draw a full-on dragon. Long story short, this one kind of got weird because this is when like I just broke out of any kind of like universe rules entirely and made my own. So I just did whatever pretty much. I don't even remember like if they had a planet or how their world works, but I remember that Vita's back. And Vita is a big evil queen, and she freezes over the world and makes ice zombies for whatever reason. And it's up to our main character to fight the ice zombies. Our main character and her many friends, actually. I actually have a lot more fan characters than Ariana too. Like, I had a plethora of them. I think I mentioned that earlier, where when I first started making characters, I just made them like for no rhyme or reason. Just to have a character to represent a very small portion of myself. It was weird. Or they would be like, they'd be my friends. Like, I'd base a character off my friend or something. Nonetheless, though, I don't even remember using this specific design too much. I think that it was just one I made to, like, show everyone that I was transitioning over into, different stuff. And then I, later on, made a much better design that I'm still gonna redesign here. This Ariana was the one that was made as a redesign for the other furry Ariana. This one actually did have a little bit more story. I remember that I changed it around a little bit more. I mean, so now that they're on a beach and they're like it's in a post-apocalyptic setting still, where this ice queen is trying to take over the world with ice zombies, but they're in an abandoned beach resort. And they're just like kind of hanging out there most of the time, unless they're like, out in the world fighting ice zombies. It's just kind of like weird thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I could take this seriously for the rest of my life. Like, no. But because of that, I decided that I give her more of like a beachy vibe to her outfit by giving her like a looser top and some big baggy pants. I don't know what's with me and big baggy pants, but I love baggy pants. They're just so comfy. This one I definitely did the most character development with, because it was just in that period where I was also working on Coda's World, like, at the same time. And I decided to actually make Coda's World a comic first, and I was gonna do this someday, but it just never really blossomed into like a full-on story for me. I had a somewhat interesting world and setting and characters, but it was all just kind of there. I didn't really ever get to do anything interesting with it, unfortunately. But hey, it's okay, because I took that time instead of developing these characters into developing Coda's World's characters, and Coda's World and just the comic in general and everything. It took a lot of work and a lot of imagination and honestly a lot of trial and error, but it gave me a better idea of how to world build and how to write stories. And so now, years later, coming back to this idea and these characters gives me so many better ideas and ways I think I could actually fit it in with the rest of Coda's world. Because I did sort of have a stroke of genius when I was messing around with some prequel stuff, but we don't need to get into that right now. I also gave this one sneakers like the last one. I really didn't want to draw her gigantic, ridiculous boots again. I wanted to do new, interesting things with this character's design because her thing's always mini skirt, long boots, cool shirt, cool gloves, purple cat. And essentially, yeah, I did kind of keep it like that, but I changed it up a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with doing that either. If you have like a really old fan character that you like think about in the back of your head every so often, you're like, if only I could go back and change it. Maybe you can. Maybe you can. You just gotta like sit down for a couple of days and doodle up some ideas and maybe one of them will stick, you know? I wouldn't ever give up on a fan character unless you just have like way too many of them. I've totally been in that position before where I'm like, I just gotta get rid of this one at this point. I'm sorry, Philip the Anteater. I think I actually had an Anteater character at one point. Like, I kinda wanna check, hang on. Oh my god, I found him. His name is Trooper the Anteater, and oh boy, yeah, doesn't he look like a trooper? Oh wow. Oh wow. Now I remember this guy. I remember at some point I got really into like the old Sonic Extreme game that never got released and just looking up things on it and just really interested in recreating it for some reason. I just think because it was just such a lost opportunity. And really, yeah, there was so much missed potential there. At some point though, I just went back and was like, oh yeah, I'll just write this whole story. I'll just write it, it's fine, it'll be great, yeah. We'll just add some new characters here. Trooper the Anteater, best character, 10 out of 10. Would read again. With that, this Ariana is done. Not too much has changed, but it still looks like furry surfer goth. But seriously, I really like how this outfit turned out. It really goes better with the theming I was trying to go with the abandoned beach resort and post-apocalyptic furry world weirdness. You know, some of our early stories are never the most cohesive. You just gotta learn from them. And then this last one is what I was just talking about. The new idea I had for, well, the new Ariana and the story that would be taking place in the same universe as Coda's world. They wouldn't be on the same planet. I decided a long time ago against putting furries on Coda's planet, and I forgot exactly why, but I'm just going to go on a whim and say I had a good reason for deciding against it. And the most that I have on there are the rabbit people and the bee people, and then of course the humans. So this takes place on a different planet within the universe. Pretty much it's Eris. It's Eris. And there is a reason why there's life on Eris, but I'm not going to go into that right now. It's not really too important. What is important though is her new design. I've completely cut off the ponytail at this point. I kind of got sick of just trying to reinvent that ponytail, and I mean, at some point, the ponytail was in like this ridiculous updo. I'm like, what was I doing? What is that? So I've just cut it all off, and I gave her short hair, kind of like how I have, and I made it still a little bit dramatic, like how you can see here, it's just all like floofy. It almost looks like my persona's hair, to be honest, but I think I made it different enough to where it stands out on its own. And then this version also has done away with that pesky skirt in exchange for some shorts and ripped up striped tights, which I think do this character a lot of justice for her attitude and for her personality, and I think it just looks extra cute too. And I think at this point her blonde streaks are just essential now, even though I literally just added them because someone was trying to force me to change my character. They look so cute with her purple hair. They stand out really well. Yeah, I just like putting them in her hair anyway. It's nice to just add extra color to character, especially don't be afraid when you're making like animal characters to like make them colorful. Like, you can do whatever you want as long as you're writing like fiction. I mean, even if you're not writing fiction, fuck it, your cat's purple because you can. I also did the same thing with her little jacket here that I did with the other Ariana, the first one that had the blonde streaks in her hair, because I just thought it's a really cute jacket design and I would really like to keep that. And I also changed her gloves around. That's pretty much the thing that changes the most from each design I've noticed is her gloves. But I also added some arm warmers too. She's got kind of like this interesting lawn sleeve undershirt going on. But I changed her hair color too, from being like this bright fluorescent purple like it was in the last design, or to this like dark gray purple, to this nice pastel little purple that I think really fits her well. Definitely looks a lot easier on the eyes too and makes her pop a little bit more. And you can tell, instead of being like just this brooding edgelord character, she seems a little bit more fun and spunky and like ready for action. I kept her outfit colors pretty much the same though, because I just love blue and black together, and I really think that they just fit well with this character at this point. It's how I just recognize this character. I see her blue and black outfit and her purple hair, and I'm like, ah yes, that is my purple cat child. So this version of Ariana is a rebel, and she still fights the evil Queen Vita, but instead of making a horde of ice zombies to conquer the world, this Vita is very, petty. And what she does, after she's demanded land from the 4 other countries and they all refuse to give her any more land than she already has, she freezes over pretty much most of the ocean, and it causes a drought on the whole planet. And now she just kind of rules over what is left of the water. And so the rebels' jobs are to go out and collect the water every day, as much as they can, to bring back to the rest of the people so the world doesn't die. This story is definitely still a work in progress, but I think it's like the most concise and honestly probably the most interesting out of all of them that I've written so far. So I'm really excited to develop this one in the future, and I definitely will. This will not be the last time you see our lovely, edgy purple princess cat. Oh, and thankfully in this version, she's not going to be a princess either. Don't worry about that nonsense. I am done with the princess days. But all in all, I really like how all of these turned out. I think they turned out really well. The first Ariana, the first furry one, I mean, is a little off to me, honestly, now that I look at it a couple more times, but it's better than the original, that's for sure. But that's gonna be all for now. I'm gonna see you guys again in the springtime, and yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this long-awaited, late anniversary video, because it was really fun to me. Thank you all. I'll see you guys real soon.